This is a double socket repair. So an electrician has added this double socket to a existing wall, and I am here to make it look pretty. It's only very small, so the undercoat plaster, I'm going to add some half-time bonding accelerator. So that whole sachet should do 25 kilograms. That's my first mistake. So I used all of that accelerator for about 2 or 3 kilograms of bonding. This is the first time I've actually used this accelerator. I've used it for the top coat plaster a few times, but I've not actually used it for bonding. And it set absolutely rapidly. So I don't know if you can tell there, it's difficult to see. The bonding has already turned, and this is pretty much real time. So from mixing it up to putting it on the wall, we're talking less than a minute. It's already starting to go very stiff. You see, I'm struggling to work with it there. Just about managing to get it on. But if this patch was any bigger, I'd have been completely scuppered. I'm going to try to cut around the socket to make sure I don't leave any clumps in there. And then there's a little detail right at the top as well. It's now gone too hard for my trowel, so I'm having to use the bucket trowel. I don't recommend trying it or doing it this way. I'm forcing it in there with the bucket trowel. It's still got a little bit of play. It's sort of like stiff plasticine at this stage. Way harder than it should be. Big whoopsie daisy. You'll see it's almost fully turned already. It's been not even 2 minutes. So be warned when using this gear. I'm now scraping it. It's so hard, it's gone off so quickly, I'm able to actually scrape it back with my trowel to make sure it's flush with the existing wall. And to my surprise, it's actually scraping back very well. So it's tightened in much quicker than I'd have liked, but it's actually, I've got it in, it's staying in nicely, and you can see now my bucket. This is only a few seconds later. Luckily, this is a rubberized bucket. It's not a hard plastic one. It's sort of a soft rubber. So I'm able to, a bit of elbow grease, and I'm able to pop the bonding off. But it just shows how incredibly hard, like that normally takes an hour and a half to do that hard. So there's a little detail at the top there. It's difficult to see from this angle, but there's nothing there. So I'm just creating, using a metal galvanized stop bead, I'm creating a sort of a little shelf, a little lip at the top there. You can see the just cutting out the sockets, keeping it nice and crisp and sharp. Now, not everyone does this. I know some plasterers think it's unnecessary, but I personally find it good practice to scrim all my repairs. So if I'm doing a chase, repairing an electrical chase like this, I'm putting that's fibre tape over the whole crack. I tend to do it when repairing skirting lines, or if I'm repairing around any sockets. It doesn't take that long, and I really don't think it can hurt. There are people that don't bother doing this, and perhaps it isn't super necessary, but in my opinion, it certainly can't hurt. So now I'm ready for the top coat, multi-finish. I'm also using half-time, despite the disaster I had with the bonding, only this time I just added about a third of the sachet, because I'm only mixing up a small amount, which is still a lot, because I'm only mixing up, again, 3 kilograms, if that, 4 kilograms of gear. I've given that a good mix now. I'm just checking it, and that's a decent consistency. So I'm now putting on the first coat. So just getting a nice covering over it all. And the first coat doesn't have to be pretty. I managed to get one of my trowels that is just a couple mil smaller than the gap, which is quite handy, so I was able to use that trowel. Again, it's only a small patch. So then once I've got all this on, say that it isn't very big at all. It is a bit faffy, but I mean, given the size, it's nothing really. It's a shame I couldn't have done this when I was plastering the rest of the extension, but it was my own silly fault. Now it's time for the second coat. Using the half time, it was only a couple of minutes as opposed to the normal, you know, what can be up to 15 minutes sometimes. So the half time was working an absolute treat. You'll see I'll just start putting the second coat on. And that was the whole reason of using the half time. It's such a small area. If I hadn't used the half time, I'd just be popping a coat on, sitting in my van for 20-30 minutes, popping another coat on, sitting in my van for another 20-30 minutes, and then I'd have to repeat that 4 or 5 times, doing all the trowels, troweling it all up. So this way, I've reduced the waiting times to around 5 or 10 minutes. Yes, I still had to hang around, but while I was waiting, I was able to put this wonderful video together. So I've left it for another 5-10 minutes, and now it's ready for its first white trowel. You can see I've slightly sped it up here, but this is the second wet trowel now. Things are moving on very nicely. So after this, it just had one more polish. Nice trowel up there, and then we're all finished. And here's a quick reminder of what it did look like. And 3 hours later, nice and smooth. Thanks for watching.